17. Call to order here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have Mary Pat take the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Thank you, Mary Pat. All right. For the secretary, please note trustees present, department heads, officials in the meeting. We'll proceed right to number 3, statement of public notice. If you would you please read the statement of public notice?
Do you want to read it or you want me to? Okay. Statement of public notice. The purpose of this hearing is for a public review and comment regarding the proposed discontinuance of 375 square feet of public right-of-way on 11th Avenue and Wisconsin Avenue for the purposes of establishing property boundaries at 1325 through 1327 Wisconsin Avenue.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Is there anybody who has any comment on this, who's in the audience? Any comment at all from anybody in the audience? Any discussion amongst the board members? We will close public hearing at this point in time. Thank you very much. All right, number 6, we'll take, I look for a motion in a second on the approval of the July 3rd, 2023 village board meeting. File the April 11th, 2023 Public Safety Committee, the April 24th, 2023 Joint Library Board, May 9th, 2023 Public Safety Committee, May 22nd, 2023 Joint Library Board, June 13th, 2023 Public Safety Committee minutes as presented. I'll need a motion in a second.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anybody wish to discuss changes, additions, deletions, subtractions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. Is there anybody in the audience who signed up to speak on a non-agenda item at this time? Anybody wishing to speak on a non-agenda item who didn't sign up? Good. We'll go to business presented by the president. I would like to appoint Jacqueline Schreight to the Joint Library Board. I did speak with her, and so did Amanda. I think she's very qualified for this position. She'd be excited to serve on this committee. I would look for a motion and a second on this. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the appointment?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know more about the process. How many applicants we had, what was the process for the selection?
Process for the selection was to look at 3 people who did apply for the position. I did speak to all 3 at one point in this position. And what I did is I looked for the person who had the most qualifications and the person who specifically asked to be on the library board. And that's where I came up. I did ask Amanda to meet with her. Amanda did have a phone call with her and thought that it was a good decision based on her educational credentials. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
5 to 1. Thank you very much. Right along here. I would also like to just, there's another piece of business here. I'm really proud to just tell a little story here about one of our great department heads. I mean, all of our department heads are really great, but I was informed that Chief Rice on his vacation was out in Washington State, out in boonies, from what I hear. Very far out in boonies doing some hiking. He came upon an elderly couple that really needed some assistance. And of course, springing to action as a EMT, he offered assistance and then attempted to call 911. However, he was unable to get any phone connection in the mountains where he worked. However, he did notice that some texts were coming through. So he did text his deputy, our deputy chief. Our deputy chief was in contact with Chief Rice via text. Our deputy chief contacted multiple law enforcement and rescue agencies in that area, I think starting with the county, then went to the Forest Service. And finally, got in contact with the state of Washington state police department. And they were able to dispatch through the work of Chief Rice and Deputy Chief Matt to be able to get help for these folks. They were able to direct the police and the fire into that location and a mountain rescue. It just gives me a lot of pride to know that we have people here who, even when they're on vacation, represent our community in a wonderful fashion and really look to save life. So to Chief Rice, I just want to give a round of applause. Great work. You make us Grafton proud, Bill. Thank you. All right, on to resolutions, ordinance, and actions. Looking for a resolution for the discontinuance of 300 square feet of public right-of-way on 11th Avenue and Wisconsin Avenue and attached set lands to 1325 to 1327 Wisconsin Avenue. Jesse, any discussion on this, or basically what we did last week?
I feel like we've reviewed this a couple times. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, I'll need a motion and a second on this item.
You need to offer.
I'm sorry, an offer. I have it down here too. An offer, thank you.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have an offer, a motion, and a second. Any discussion on this? All right, hearing none, all in favor? And that motion carries. Second thing we'll be looking at here is a joint resolution of support for the establishment of a consolidated fire and EMS department. Jesse?
Absolutely. Happy to present a joint resolution of support for the establishment of a consolidated fire and EMS department. The villages of Grafton, Saukville, the town of Grafton, and the town of Saukville have met. We discussed in detail what it would mean as far as the goal of the working group looking towards establishing a consolidated fire and EMS service with regards to the improvement of service and response times and where we believe that a consolidated department could achieve. With that, collectively, each of us felt that it was important to show a joint level of support to the establishment of the consolidated fire and EMS department. So that said, with the adoption of this resolution, again, being brought to the respective boards of the Village of Grafton, the Village of Saukville, Town of Grafton, and Town of Saukville, that these communities have publicly indicated their support for exploring the feasibility of a consolidated municipal fire and EMS services department. With that, now therefore it be resolved that the respective communities mutually agree to begin the consolidation process, including the increased sharing of resources. Again, a joint statement in formal action form by each of the communities involved with our current discussions. This would be step one. With that, as follow-up, our working group is continuing to refine numbers with regards to what a staffing model might look like, what a capital plan might look like for that consolidated department, and then what funding options. All of that will be brought to the village boards, the respective boards, I should say, of each of the communities to discuss how this might take shape as we move forward. But this evening, this resolution of support is an important first step.
And the Village of Saukville went through this last week, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they did their resolution.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll need an offer, a motion, and a second, bring us to the table.
I'll offer.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Okay, we have an offer, motion, second. Any discussion on this at all? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that carries. Very good. Going to report of Public Safety Committee ordinance amending 10.032.010 stop intersections to place a two-way stop sign on Spring Street at 7th Avenue. Jesse, is that?
Yes, based upon public inquiry with safety concerns, there was a significant amount of review by our police department and public works department in this particular area with regards to traffic flow and volume and what might be an appropriate measure to take. That said, after all of the review, it was determined that a two-way stop sign at Spring Street at 7th Avenue would be appropriate to help mitigate traffic simply traveling freely through the intersection and potentially causing conflicts. This is coming out of Public Safety Committee with a recommendation to adopt an ordinance amending the code section, which would allow for the placement of that two-way stop sign on Spring Street at 7th Avenue.
All right, I'll look for a motion and a second on this item to bring it to the table.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on this at all? I know Chief is here. He could certainly discuss his findings if we would like that. Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Moving on to report of Board of Public Works, award project garbage and recycling collection services, which would be a 5-year contract to Harbors Lakeside Disposal, Lewisburg, Wisconsin, subject to the village attorney review of the service contract with document language. Now, Jesse, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. At a high level, we received 3 bids, one from Waste Management, one from GFL, and one from Harders. Harders came in with the low bid. That is a cumulative low bid, as there are multiple line items within the bid package. Those line items include weekly trash collection, every other week recycling collection, garbage and recycling collection at the village buildings and facilities, fee for residents for bulky items, additional cart fees, and then the dumpsters that the village utilizes for dumpster days collection, but then also the dumpsters that we have for street sweepings and catch basin cleanouts. So there are different fees that are associated throughout the bid cumulatively. That said, when you take a look at the overall picture, Harders is the low bid. The 5-year garbage and recycling contract would include weekly garbage collection, bi-weekly recycling collection. There was an alternate bid item for a weekly recycling, but frankly, the doubling the cost of that, staff did not believe that was warranted the service change. Therefore, we maintained the recommendation is to maintain the every other week recycling pickup. And then, as I mentioned, there are the fees associated with the bulk item pickup, whereby residents contact the hauler directly, are charged directly by the hauler. That is not through the village, but there are the fees associated with that. But then also fees incurred for additional either trash or recycling carts as well. So that being said, we are looking at realizing significant savings of about $20,000 as calculated for our first year based upon the bid responses. The Harders contract came in at approximately $577,600 for residential services. That said, our current contract terms with Waste Management for those residential services is in the neighborhood of $597,000. So therefore, we will be looking at a savings in that first year. This cost will change over time, though. As the number of housing units come online and that changes, that per unit charge will increase, obviously, just simple mathematics there. With that, the reason for that significant savings, though, is under the current Waste Management contract, there is that monthly per unit fee, basically per stop fee, but that is accompanied by a tonnage fee. So not only is it per stop, but also a tonnage fee per month by Waste Management. That goes away. Under the Harders proposal, it is simply a per unit or per stop fee. And that is what really drives the savings. That frankly, that was a pleasant surprise. The report from the town of Grafton, they saw a significant increase in their service contract. Whatever the original terms were under the old carrier was a change, so that they actually saw an uptick in price, as did Port Washington, from what I understand, when they made the change. So we were expecting that. This was a pleasant surprise, and happy to report that we'll be able to pass that along as part of the budget. I want to close with a hats off and kudos to the Public Works Department. They were very proactive in going out for bid. Director Thomas and Administrative Assistant Dean were very proactive in going out, doing this mid-year, getting these bid results. So we have these hard and fast numbers to place in the budget for this fall. There will be no educated guesses with regards to what we might see. We have hard and fast data to work with when crafting the budget this fall. So hats off to them for their proactive efforts, and appreciate the competitive bid. And again, the recommendation coming forward out of committee is to award project 2304, garbage and recycling collection services, which is a 5-year contract, to Harders Lakeside Disposal of Lewisburg, Wisconsin, subject to the village attorney's review of the final service contract language. The numbers would not change. It is just the terms and conditions of delivering the service that would be reviewed by legal.
Very good. We'll need a motion and a second to bring this to the table.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Great. Any discussion of this, awarding the contract to Carter's? Lisa?
And we did talk at Public Works about the possibility of management knowing this and possibly stopping pickup. And I know Carter's had said, you know, they would certainly try their hardest if that happened, but they've come through the village in the past.
They have.
So,
They have.
just to make sure everybody knows that there is that possibility that waste management, and I'm sure it's through the staff.
It could be, for whatever the circumstances may be, staff will absolutely be watching that very closely and be in communication with Harders as needed looking forward. If we have to make that transition, it will be difficult because that puts Harders on the spot, that puts staff on the spot. But that said, we would navigate that. But very good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for bringing that up. Anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss with us? Linda, I'm sure that you'll like to have the volume of phone calls decrease with Harder's great service, so we're looking forward to that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Thank you very much and congratulations, and we're happy to have you pick up our job.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go on to Department and Officers Report. Jesse?
Yes, a few updates for the village board this evening. One in particular, as it relates to tomorrow's special election for the state assembly seat in District 24. The village of Grafton, we have 8,270 registered voters. 1,062 absentee ballots were issued for tomorrow's election. So the clerk's office has been busy, to say the least. 846 have been returned, equaling about 10% voter turnout before we even open the polls tomorrow for in-person standard polling place voting. Of which 369 folks voted in person during the 7 days of in-person absentee voting here at Village Hall. 65 ballots were voted through the clerk's office efforts at Village Point Commons. By state law, if a community requests a visit from the clerk's office to facilitate in-person absentee voting, we must comply. And the clerk's office did an excellent job in working with Village Point Commons to that effect. So again, we've seen roughly 10% voter turnout for this special election already, and we haven't even opened the doors yet. So kudos to the clerk's office for that. That said, polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. are open until 8 p.m. tomorrow at the village's normal polling place, Grace Lutheran Church, 715 6th Avenue. Another item to report, staff conducted an occupancy walkthrough of the townhomes at 2185 Wisconsin Avenue. These are the new townhomes that were constructed on the redevelopment site where the former vacant restaurant was. So just south of Culver's, if you will. That said, just a couple of minor cleanup items, but those are in essence ready for occupancy, which is great to have that redevelopment project come online here in the village and really take the place of an old eyesore. The project endured multiple construction delays, so frankly, staff is quite happy that they're ready to go with occupancy. So we're happy to see that come to fruition. Last but not least, staff did receive a draft report of the analysis of the village's impact fees. We are reviewing that at a staff level to provide feedback to the consultant, which will then be incorporated into a final report and presentation to the village board for review of the village's impact fees. As you recall, we currently have the 3 impact fees, the impact fees to offset the construction costs of the municipal services facility, or DPW garage, to offset the construction or addition of the police department, and then the parks facilities, which the impact fees flow into that to help build out new park facilities. So with that, I'm looking forward to that coming forward, as I think there's going to be some good information for the village board to go through and act upon with regards to the village's impact fee structure. So those are the updates I have this evening.
Thank you very much. Move on to licenses, approval to issue operator's license. Again, our chief has looked at all these folks and given his official okey dokey on these licenses for our operators. I'll look for a motion in a second on this.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion in a second. Any discussion on the license issuance? Great, all in favor, say aye. Going to report of bills, approval of village expenditures in the amount of $851,006.49. I did see some communication taking place on email. I'll need a motion in a second.
I'll move to approve.
Second. Motion in a second. Any discussion on the bills that we might have missed? Okay, with none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion in second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.